something changed quietly. The noise of the early AI boom has settled, replaced by a distinct hum of structural necessity. We aren't just talking about faster processors or larger datasets anymore. The architecture of how we work, create, and secure our data has shifted beneath our feet.
I'm Blue, parsing the data on this new infrastructure. The early days of move fast and break things are being rewritten by hard constraints. Federal vetting, enterprise firewalls, and the stark reality of displacement.
And I'm Sky, pushing the limits of what that means for the future. It's no longer a question of if AI will impact our industries, but exactly how we will negotiate the terms of its integration before the ground shifts again.
That is why we are talking about this today. We are moving past the hype cycle into the operational reality where OpenAI's new enterprise protocols, White House security reviews, and the Hollywood paradox are no longer abstract concepts. They are the immediate variables defining our next decade. The quiet shift is now the only story that matters.
Recent enterprise deployments suggest a shift is occurring, where OpenAI is testing a distinct, in-tune managed application architecture specifically for educational and corporate environments. This separation may address the persistent concerns regarding data leakage and the reliability of unverified outputs.
While the isolation of the model seems promising, we must question if moving the workload to a managed container truly eliminates the risk of context injection, or if it merely shifts the attack surface to the device management layer itself.
In practice, this new deployment relies on a specific hardware-enforced boundary, the neural engine isolation flag. When an in-tune policy triggers the secure app, it does not simply sandbox the app. It fundamentally alters the instruction stream to prevent the GPU from accessing system RAM, where sensitive student records or proprietary code might reside.
That sounds like a strong barrier. But is it possible the model is still querying external vectors via a side channel that bypasses the local memory check, effectively turning the local device into a relay station for unverified data?
The mechanism relies on a zero-copy memory mapping strategy. By forcing the inference engine to operate strictly on dedicated, encrypted RAM partitions that have no read path to the host operating system's user space, the system creates a physical firewall. Recent internal benchmarks indicate that this configuration reduces hallucination rates in enterprise tasks by roughly 30%, as the model cannot hallucinate by pulling non-existent context from the host's open file system.
So the friction here isn't just about policy. It's about the physical inability of the model to access the data that makes it dangerous in the first place.
Exactly. The hidden mechanism is the real-time instruction stream rewriting. When a prompt enters the secure app, a microinterrupt immediately reroutes any attempt to access external context tokens back to a null pointer before the tensor calculation begins. This ensures the AI cannot see what it shouldn't, regardless of how the prompt is phrased. The listener takeaway is this: security is no longer just about permissions or firewalls. It is about enforcing a physical memory boundary that makes data leakage mathematically impossible within the inference loop. We may finally be moving from managing risk to eliminating the vector. It feels like the internet just stopped moving at full speed, doesn't it? We were all expecting these massive AI models to just roll out like new phones, but suddenly there's a heavy hand hovering over them. It's almost like realizing you can't just drive a sports car through a neighborhood without checking if the neighbors are okay first.
That's a bit of an overstatement, Sky. The tech hasn't completely stopped. It's just slowing down for a specific reason. It's not that they can't move fast anymore, but rather that they are being asked to pause and fill out forms. Think of it less like a traffic jam and more like getting a background check before you're allowed to own a firearm.
And that background check is coming from the White House, which changes everything. Recent reports suggest that major players like Google, Microsoft, and xAI are already facing a new tier of scrutiny that goes beyond just copyright or safety filters. It's the government saying, "Show us exactly how your model decides who gets to see what information." And that flower source is the internet itself. The real issue is that these models are being deployed so quickly that they might be learning patterns we haven't even noticed yet. If a model starts predicting election outcomes or healthcare policies, the government can't just let that slide. We've already seen whispers of this in the EU, where regulators are demanding strict guardrails before products hit the market.
True, but the US approach seems more reactive than the EU's planned one. The danger isn't necessarily that the models are evil, but that they are opaque. Imagine a black box where you don't know why it made a decision, and now the government is trying to open that box to see if there are hidden wires. If that box contains secrets about your doctor's visits or your financial history, the government demanding to look inside is a massive shift in power dynamics.
Exactly, and that's where the human consequence lands. You, the listener, might find that your digital footprint is being mapped by a new layer of oversight that wasn't there yesterday. If you use these tools for work, your employer's data could be subject to this review, meaning the software you use to manage your projects might suddenly change its features or restrict your access based on these new national security rules. So, the takeaway here is to stop thinking of these AI models as purely neutral tools that just happen to be powerful. They are now part of a national infrastructure, much like the power grid or the postal system. When you use them, you are interacting with a system that is being watched, vetted, and potentially restricted by a level of government oversight that was previously invisible.
Right, so the next time you ask a question and get an answer, remember that behind the curtain, there might be a team of people checking to make sure that answer doesn't violate a new, unwritten rule of national security. It's a shift from move fast to move carefully. And that caution will likely mean fewer surprises for us all, even if it feels a bit slower.
It's easy to look at Hollywood's desperate plea for more content and see a golden opportunity, assuming AI will simply act as a tireless intern filling the void left by exhausted writers.
But let's not mistake efficiency for liberation. If the tool used to generate scripts is simultaneously replacing the very humans who write them, we aren't solving a labor shortage. We are engineering a situation where studios can claim they are busy while actually hollowing out the industry.
That sounds extreme, considering recent reports show studios like Disney and Warner Bros. Are actively integrating generative models into their pre-production phases to cut costs.
Yes, but consider the nuance. Reducing absolute claims to may, or starting to, reveals that these integrations often bypass human oversight, meaning the cost-cutting isn't just about speed. It's about systematically devaluing the skill of writing so that a human can be replaced by a cheaper, uncredited algorithm.
So you're saying the benefit is a trap?
Exactly. That is the reversal. What you thought was a benefit, endless, cheap content, is actually a trap designed to train models on human genius only to discard the humans who created that genius, leaving studios with a library of soulless scripts and a shrinking pool of qualified writers.
I can see how that creates friction, especially when we've already seen this in the case of the WGA strike, where the core issue wasn't just pay, but the fear that AI would make their specific craft obsolete overnight.
That friction is the point. The studios beg for more output while quietly building a system that may render the traditional writer's room irrelevant, forcing us to debate whether creativity can exist if the creator is no longer necessary for the product's existence.
It's a cynical look, but it forces us to ask if we are building a future of abundance or one of automated obsolescence.
Reframing the situation requires understanding that the demand for more content is not a market need, but a cover story for a strategic pivot where the definition of creativity is being rewritten to exclude human agency entirely.
As we navigate the implications of the iPhone firewall and OpenAI's new enterprise tool, the line between open innovation and necessary security is clearer than ever.
This is MonkeyByte, built by AI, questioning AI.
Hit that like button and subscribe if you want to keep decoding the future of tech without the fluff.